This band had a lot of bassists, huh?
Oh, D.R.I?
Yeah, yeah.
That's where we'll start. Hi, everybody. Nope, we're not going to start there. No, we will. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Cranked and Ranked, where we rank band discographies. Today, I'm just going to talk like this, like from now on, so I don't fuck up words. Today, we will be ranking the classic crossover thrash band D.R.I, or Dirty Rotten Imbeciles. I am Old Head. Here with me, as usual, is Eddie Sparxx.
What's on me, Bert? You right? What's on? Hello.
Hello, Governor.
What, mate?
So we're ranking a band, and unlike last week, it's a band with a short discography.
Yeah.
Not 24 albums or whatever the Kiss one was. But that was fun. So I'm very much looking forward to the next Cranked and Revisited. And somebody was suggesting that we do other early bands like Slayer and whatnot. And I'm like, I mean, some bands, I don't think my ranking's really going to change much. And so it's not that interesting, but maybe we can get around to some of them.
Perhaps. I'd quite like to focus on bands with quite extensive discographies for that thing.
Yeah.
To where it there's a lot going on.
Yeah. Yeah. But this week, not a lot going on because D.R.I. has technically 7 albums, although the one you're seeing behind me, if you're watching the video, the Dirty Rotten, this is the Dirty Rotten LP, but really it's just a 7-inch worth of music because it originally was the Dirty Rotten EP and it came out on a 7-inch.
Yeah.
But then they decided to put it on a 12-inch, and that's what I have. But it's the same songs. It's still like 14 minutes of music or some shit like that.
Yeah.
But so 7 releases total, and D.R.I. for me, it's they were a band that I just randomly saw their videos on Headbangers Ball when I was young, and they didn't immediately connect with me. And I think it was because of the vocals, because the vocals weren't unique enough for me at the time. And they also weren't like aggressive. So there wasn't anything that really stood out vocally to me. And there were other thrash bands that had already like captured my heart. And so, eventually I came around and got into D.R.I. when they put out the album Definition in 92. That was when, like, all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay, the D.R.I., this band's cool. And then, the rest is history. But they have a connection to me, to where I live, Houston, Texas, because they started out here in Houston and recorded. I think how it worked is they recorded the Dirty Rotten EP here. Then soon after that, they moved to San Francisco and they ended up getting signed to Metal Blade. But then I think they came back here to record Dealing With It, if I remember right. But they, and I think that, the members kind of come and go. So they're kind of from this area and kind of not, but they originated in this very city that I live in. And I'm proud to say that. But they're an interesting band, because I hear a lot of, there are people like me that are just into all the D.R.I. shit. Then there are people that are very much, they jump off right after Dealing With It. Once they shed the hardcore punk thing and get more into thrash, then people are kind of, and then there's the other side of those people that prefer it when they were thrashy. And it's very interesting because, like, none of their stuff is technically that far out to where it should upset either side.
Yeah.
It's so I'm always just like, it's interesting that, people want to have such loud, bold opinions about things that don't really deserve them. It's just like, hey, do you enjoy this music or do you not enjoy this music? There's no reason to be all like, oh my God, I'm on this side.
Yeah.
But I guess that's just, as we've said many times, that's just how metal folk are. But D.R.I. for you, do you remember how far back does your D.R.I. exposure go?
I think for me, it's I've heard the odd song here or there. I remember very early on, strangely enough, I remember seeing the video for Beneath the Wheel when I was about like 13, 14 and thinking it was really cool.
Yeah.
But that was during a time where I was just picking songs I liked. I wasn't really going down the full album route with any one band in particular. It was very much a case of I would hear something and think, that's fucking rad. And then I'd be like, I'm going to go listen to Master of Puppets like 4 times in a row. So it's that early part of my, journey to where I've not matured out of my big four zone yet. I'm still very much delving into that.
Yeah.
So if I hear the odd song here or there that I like, it's like cool. I'm busy though.
Yeah.
I'm still working through all this. So yeah, still cool though. I've definitely heard a few other songs over the years as well that I recognize. And I was like, this is D.R.I. But I've never done a full deep dive with D.R.I. like I have done this week.
Sweet. And honestly, it was a little bit of a tough ranking for me just because how I feel about a chunk of the albums is just they're so close together and how I feel about them that it is a ranking that I'm just like, I feel like depending on my mood, these could swap around at any time, which I guess says something about their music because they did progress from the straight up hardcore to the crossover thrash, which I've heard that the term crossover was coined from their album, but I feel like that term already existed in '87 when that album came out. So, but maybe that was like what brought it into like the common usage, maybe. But I feel like their transition was it's pretty smooth. And every little tiny progression that they make, and I'm using the word tiny, it's just a very smooth discography for me because there's no big jump, there's no out of left field album for me, and maybe that's because I heard the thrashy stuff before I heard Dealing With It and Dirty Rotten EP, and so but when I heard those, they didn't sound like this is the same band. It wasn't like that kind of shocker. So. But anyway, they're classic to me. Like they're a band that should be included in thrash metal conversations. If you're going to include bands like Suicidal Tendencies and whatnot, D.R.I. should definitely be in there. And they're still kicking it. They're still playing live shows. They just don't record new material. They did like a short EP several years back, and we're not ranking that. Which is good because it would be last because I didn't think it was that good, but whatever. But I guess let's do it. I don't know why I feel like I need. I know what's going to get me going. I got a new preset here. I mentioned this to you in our messages recently, and I just had to put this on my thing. So this one's going to get me going. You ready?
Hell yeah.
No, I say let's raise some cane. Let's raise some cane!
All right. That's for those of you who don't know, that's going to be a whole episode. We need to do that because because the band is Wally World, but that guy whose name is Wally in the 80s was in a band called like Snakebite or something. And I'm like, all right, that sounds like a fun deep dive of like, not even a ranking, just literally like we break down some Wally World and then we look at like where that guy came from because it's, that's a lifer. That guy is a lifer. If you're that he's an older guy making some low budget metal shit, but he came from the 80s. He's like one of those dudes that's like, no, this is shit's in my blood. I don't care that I wasn't successful or whatever, you know?
The thing I love is the fact that he gets outvoted in the start of the video, and they stick with Raise Some Cain, but I'm pretty sure he gets outvoted by Raise Some Hell or something. There's something to that effect.
Raise Some Ruckus.
Yeah, he doesn't have the winning vote, but they just roll with it.
I mean, it's like, how many times
I say raise some ruckus. I say raise some hell. I say raise some hell. Now let's raise some Cain.
No, I say let's raise some Cain.
Let's raise some Cain.
Anyway, coming soon at some point. I literally just think it would be fun to just break down that video and talk about it, because it's equal parts. I love it because I love it when dudes get older and they're still like, well, fuck it, I'm still gonna fucking make metal. I love that, but then at the same time, it's very funny, unintentionally funny. Anyway, not unintentionally funny, and occasionally, lyrically speaking, sometimes actually funny. D.R.I. So let's get on to the ranking. We have 7 albums, quote unquote, to rank, and let's just get into it. As usual, I throw it over to Eddie Sparxx to talk. Okay, a little bit more caffeine. Eddie Sparxx to start us off with his number 7 D.R.I. album.
I'm going to come right out and say it. I think every album here is good.
Yeah, I agree.
I enjoy every single one of these releases for different reasons. However, if I'm talking my own personal tastes, one had to go at the bottom. And for me, I think they would improve greatly with many ensuing releases. My number 7 is the Dirty Rotten EP/LP.
Okay, cool.
And I completely get why someone would have this like at the top. It's got it's got punk energy all over it, but to me, identity-wise, it doesn't separate from the hardcore punk of its era thing to the point where I'm like, this is identifiably D.R.I. It has its moments, but I definitely liked them a lot more when they started incorporating more metallic elements and really forging that crossover thrash sort of thing.
Yeah, they really did go from technically being just a good hardcore band to D.R.I. Having a sound that's, I feel, is recognizable.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. It's very much a case of this is good and this is good at what it's doing. But if I'm thinking D.R.I., this is not the sound I'm thinking of when I think of D.R.I. You know, I'm thinking of that melding of the punk ethos with the thrash metal sound. Yeah. And excuse me. Ultimately, I think this debut album, while full of energy and clocking in at a respectable 17 minutes.
17, okay.
Yeah, 17 minutes with 22 songs. I mean, it gets in and out and does exactly what it intends to do in that time.
Yeah.
And I can't take anything away from that. I just think that every single release past it improved on that formula and added more identity to it. Yeah. And I think as a standalone hardcore album, I think it's fucking great. But as a D.R.I. album, I just think that they would only improve off of this. Yeah. So yeah.
I get that. Yeah. I'm not in agreement because I'm on the complete other end of their discography for my number 7. My number 7 is Full Speed Ahead from 1995. Their 7th and final album. I mean, they did say that they were done recording, but I say never say, especially now we're this far in to 70s and 80s bands being older, and all of a sudden there's new material or there's new tours or there's reunions. So now we know how that works. So it's silly to say anything like that. It's silly to say no more touring, or silly to say no more albums, because just if that's the case, then just don't. But otherwise, I'm just going to be like, well, never say never for anything. Even when a band signs a goddamn contract saying they're not going to do anything. But Full Speed Ahead is like, so there's a thing for me with, it starts with Four of a Kind, and then it ends up with Full Speed Ahead. And it's like, there's really slight improvements and tightening and minor progression to everything that they do. But I think to many ears, it just sounds like the same old shit. But I hear little things that as what they're doing, without veering away from it really at all, there's these little progressions that I hear in their stuff. I just think that once you get to Full Speed Ahead, it's kind of too much of the same for me. Whereas you put this album on independently, and I'm like, God, this album fucking rules. But listening to all of their stuff, you really do get the idea of like, okay, you know what you're going to get. There's no surprises. This is just a tighter and better put together, like, I guess, rendition or whatever of what they do. But I just don't think that the songs are as memorable overall. Still a fucking solid album, but by 95, I just think that they'd kind of done their thing enough times where this one is just like, it's almost like just gravy on top. It's like, oh, here's another D.R.I. album. Cool. So while I like it, I feel like there's more, I get more excited about the other ones prior to this. So that's my number 7.
Fair enough. I will say I've got that one a little higher up, but I'll get to that. My number 6, similar trajectory with the previous album. My number 6 is Dealing With It.
Okay.
And
that's the one that's the pitchforks are gonna come out for you.
yeah.
for the actual fans, there'll be a lot of people that are like, okay.
yeah. It's one of those things again where this was where you started to see a little bit more metal influence coming in. It's twice the length of the previous album. And it's just a little bit more, it's like a thrashier, still very much in the punk zone.
Yeah.
I mean, very few of the album's tracks go above 2 minutes. I think the notable exceptions being Nursing Home Blues and Argument Then War. Almost all the others are either like 1 minute something or not even reaching the minute mark. And it's awesome ass kicking fucking thrashy punk.
Yeah.
But like this is the point at which, like, between this album they go from thrashy punk to punky thrash.
Yeah.
So, you couldn't hope for a more appropriate term than crossover with the next album, because it quite literally, each, like, especially the first 3 albums, there is this like stepping stone. It's like, this is firmly entrenched in the hardcore punk thing. Then you get something between the punk and the metal thing. Then you get something that's very planted in the metal thing with a punk mindset. And then from that, they would just keep going with that to greater extents. Yeah. But ultimately, I mean, I get why someone would have their pitchforks out for this album being so low. I mean, as far as I'm aware, if you heard this album coming up the first time around, I would completely get why you'd be like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? But to my ears, retrospectively, coming from more of a metal background, now I love me some punky stuff, don't get me wrong, but I'd be lying if, I mean, look at me. Does this look like a mohawk? It's straight up. I love both. I love, both is good, but I'm more into thrash metal than I am hardcore punk. Yeah. By a little more. You know, I like both, but for me, I think DRI really come into their own when they get a bit more metal. But yeah, like I say, this is one of those discographies, kind of like Death, where it feels like there's no wrong answers. You know,
yeah.
that was a 7 album discography, and I don't think anybody thinks any of those albums are bad. So
No. Yeah, I absolutely get that. But and this is where for me, like it's a little more of a mixed up thing for me. There's not really an order that they go in with, like the following their progression or whatever. It's just kind of albums that I connect with in different ways. And so my number 6 ends up being Four of a Kind from 1988, which is their 4th album. And this is the one after Crossover where I feel like they leaned way more into thrash, to where I would just call it a thrash album. I feel like, especially these days, the term crossover is thrown around a bit too much for bands that are basically just a more stripped down thrash. And I'm like, I don't know if people throw that word around because they think it's embarrassing to be called thrash metal, or to say they listen to thrash metal. But I just remember when a band from my area, Power Trip, came out, and people were like, "Oh, they're a great crossover." I'm like, "Are you listening to the same band? Because this is just the thrash metal band." But I think it's because it's like uncool, and so like they put the crossover thing on there, so maybe it feels better. I don't know, but bands like that it's fucking thrash metal.
It definitely feels like being punk is technically cooler than being metal. Like very often people will throw around that thing of like, yeah, punk ethos, whereas there's this quote unquote respectability of being punk or whatever, whereas you've got the sweaty loser Dungeons and Dragons metalhead who's thinks he gets bitches and doesn't get bitches. It's that dumbass fucking mentality. I don't know.
To be fair, from my experience, they both suck.
Yeah.
So, not all of them, of course, but
just alienate the entire listener base.
Just because like from my experience growing up as a metal guy that listened to punk, the people that I knew back then who were into metal were way more adventurous with their music and accepting of other people than the punks were. The punks were some of the biggest posers that I knew. And because everything was about a costume, not just all of a sudden they put on an attitude, they put on the costume, they were shitty to other people, and people were like, "Oh yeah, punk, welcome everybody." I'm like, in theory, some punk is that, yes,
yeah,
but also some metal is that. So, but I think it's one of those things where the groupthink mentality. Once again, people are going to get so tired of me using that term, but it's fucking true.
No, it's true. It's true.
The groupthink mentality has been that like, oh, punk has always been accepting and about being yourself. I'm like, some of it. So it's always been funny to me because I've always been the guy that didn't fit in anywhere. So I would go to the punk show and the punks would not like me because I had long hair. Or if I went to the metal show, the metalheads may have had a problem with me because of some of the bands that I listened to that weren't metal. And I'm just like, well, can I go to like a normal person show?
Yeah.
Where like I don't feel like I need to put on a goddamn costume in order to go there.
I didn't get into music for fucking rules.
Exactly, Lars. Exactly,
He fucking left the band!
So, Four of a Kind. Yeah. So the thing about Four of a Kind that I do like in the trajectory of their albums, by this album, number 4, it's the most solid they've sounded as a band. And the weird thing about this album for me is that that's both a good and a bad thing. Because obviously they're becoming better musicians, they're tighter as a band, in the studio, they're able to put things together, so it just sounds, more together and cohesive. But the first three albums have a kind of almost off the rails quality that I really enjoy. And then once Four of a Kind rolls around, that kind of goes away, and it's more like we're very steady in our attack.
Yeah.
And then in Four of a Kind, all of a sudden there's some longer songs. And also the first time they did a video, they did the Suit and Tie Guy video, which I remember seeing on Headbangers Ball. And I always remember, I don't think I ever saw a DRI video on Headbangers Ball that wasn't the very last video of the night.
Wow.
like I don't remember. I mean, I'm sure they got played different times, but whenever I would catch an episode that played a DRI video, it was always the very last video of the night. And Suit and Tie Guy, whenever I see that video, or like I see like Abduction or other videos, it always just gives me that idea of like, oh, it's really late because the show is fucking over. But anyway, Four of a Kind, it's still great. Once again, you put this album on independent of listening to any other DRI, and I fucking love it. But I like the 5 other ones more than this one. So that's my number 6.
Cool. So my number 5, this brings us to my number 5.
Woo!
My number 5 is from 1995, and it is Full Speed Ahead.
Full Speed Ahead.
Now, the reason this album, the reason this album got a little bit ahead of the punkier ones, but below everything else, is because I agree with you that the kind of thrash thing that they were doing at this point, there's not really anything on this album that's new in that respect.
Yeah.
However, there are moments where they go a little bit groovy and tune down a little bit, and I'm like, ooh, oh. Now, if it was a whole album of this, of like the slower, slightly groovier, tuned down a little bit stuff on here, it may have climbed a little higher.
Yeah.
But ultimately, being someone who has really, in recent times, for me, the 90s has always been like a very split in half decade for me. Like, as far as I was concerned, for the longest time, 90 through 94 was like the best era of music all time. And that's coming from the 80s guy in my friend group at the time. But even I would concede that 90 through 94 was the best era. But I've really come around to stuff from like 95 through 99 to the point now where, as far as I'm concerned, the 80s and 90s are on an even keel for like different reasons.
Yeah.
And I've really, and this is mainly because of you, getting into a lot more like mid 90s and beyond stuff that, I just hadn't, really thought about or given a fair chance to, because I thought, Kurt died, new metal time.
Well, yeah, also it's easy to lose some of that shit because there was less of an emphasis on a lot of rock and metal music. Like there was the rock and metal of the day that was the popular stuff that was held up. Whereas early 90s, the stuff that was held up, it was like hundreds of bands. And then by the late 90s, it was like a dozen bands that were like being talked about. And so there's plenty of other stuff. There's plenty of other stuff that was coming out that if you heard it at the time, you were into it. But if you didn't happen to hear it, how the fuck were you going to? It's like it was released and then it was gone. So
absolutely
one of the few reasons why I think the internet is a good thing. But there's plenty of reasons why it's bad also.
Yeah. But without it, we wouldn't have this show. At
Absolutely.
least, So we're making the best of an otherwise complicated situation.
Yes.
So essentially, Full Speed Ahead. It gets a little groovy at points, and that's the best. In my opinion, those are some of the best moments on the album. And I'm pretty sure that is Who Am I on another album?
Who? Well, yeah. Who am I? But I don't think it's called Who Am I? But that's on Dirty Rotten EP.
I thought so. I thought, there was a point where I was like, hang on, is this a re-recordings album?
I'm
In
like,
which
is it
case I
actually
would-
called Who Am I? I don't think the song is called Who
Who
Am I.
am I?
Oh, it is called Who Am I?
D.R.I.
Yeah, it is. It is called Who Am I?
Yeah.
Also, I really like on this album that the sides are labeled this side and that side.
Yeah, yeah.
You just play whichever side you want.
I love shit like that.
Yeah.
That kind of humorous, tongue-in-cheek head nod, sort of fuck it, why not?
Yeah.
Sort of approach. I've always respected that. But yeah, this album, if you play it in isolation, it kicks ass.
Yeah.
It is actually. Oh shit! I thought that was strange. Yeah, so the version I listened to didn't have a 26-minute long final track, but I'm assuming that's for bonus track purposes.
It's yeah.
Yeah. I thought that might be the case. I was like, I listened to it earlier. I was like, that wasn't 72 minutes and 44 seconds.
Yeah.
But yeah, simply put, it's cool, and I liked it. But ultimately, there's cooler stuff ahead.
Yeah. Cool. So, I do agree with you that about like I enjoy when they get a little bit groovy. But for me, that actually started the album prior, which is at my number 5, which is Definition from 1992.
Cool.
Their 6th album. And that was the thing that I think got me on board with DRI at this point, was because I saw the music video for Acid Rain, and I was like, ooh, because the sound on that album is real thick, and there is some grooviness to it, and it's almost like a more not overall on the album, but that song in particular, they seemed like a more serious band, and so that caught my attention because I guess bands that were a little bit around that time, bands that were a little bit more kind of, hey, we're not too serious, and we kind of just play some fast stuff. Some of those bands didn't really connect with me, but so finally with Definition is where it clicked. But I think it's also because there is occasionally those little groovy moments. But so this one is like, really my jumping off point for a DRI album. And I think production wise of once they become like a more solid type band, this is the best sounding of that for me. I've always just really liked the way this album sounds. And
that 1992, baby, something was in the air.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so it's a really great album, but it ends up being number 5 because even with the little bits of like, oh, we'll throw in a little bit of groove here, or we'll make kind of a thicker, more metallic, straightforward sound here, it's still not a huge progression from Thrash Zone. It's but it's enough to where it's really entertaining on its own. It's a super important album for me when it comes to DRI, but I think the other 4 are stronger albums, and so Definition goes here at number 5.
Quick thing, I have recently, this is completely unrelated to the show.
Okay.
I've just had something pop up on the screen. I updated my Mac today, and I've just had something pop up that said, FMPD would like access to Apple Music, your music and video activity, and your media library. What is FMPD?
It's, it's a police department. They're watching you.
Oh, God.
Let's see. FMPD.
I told you I'm not paying for that ticket.
Yeah, it says Fort Myers Police Department. Right, FMPD Mac. FMPD is a component of the McAfee app for Mac. You have like
okay.
you have like
Yeah, there we go.
No, wait, don't. I'm just kidding.
There we go. Okay. Well,
It's all about, securing your, although like, Mac, for a Mac, you don't even really need that on a Mac. Macs are like, just, they take care of themselves. That's why I love them.
yeah, they're pretty good for that.
I just remember like I haven't used a PC since around 2010 or something like that. And I just remember like years went past and I went, oh my God, you know what I haven't had in years? I haven't had a virus.
Yeah.
I haven't had like a weird pop-up. It's like none of that shit. And so like when people are like, well, Macs are like so much more expensive, I'm like, it's kind of worth it.
Yeah.
Unless you're a gamer, because like for my kids, like plays more games, and Macs aren't necessarily that great for some of those, depending on what you're playing. But
Dude, you should have seen my horror when I realized I couldn't play San Andreas on this thing. Like I went on. I used to be able to on my MacBook Air, and then I fired up Steam on this thing, and it said, sorry, we don't support 32-bit games anymore. What the fuck do you mean? I paid for it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So there's probably some mod somewhere I can download.
There's a workaround for everything, but
Yeah. I really wish the little spinning beach ball would go away for my antivirus, though. That's starting to piss me off. Okay, sorry, we got a little bit of a tangent there.
so if the show completely shuts down, we'll know why, because there's a spinning beach ball
Fort
going on.
Myers Police Department did it.
Yeah. All right, yeah, we're moving on to your number 4. We're moving through these, but I guess really these albums also move through their material as well. So
Well, my number 3.
4.
Sorry, my that ties into this. My number 4 is the third album
Hey.
in the D.R.I discography, which is Crossover. And this is their first foray really into thrash metal proper, if you will. To the point where production-wise and presentation-wise, really, I mean, they've jumped from crudely drawn album art to a chrome slam dancer with a couple of skulls at his feet.
Yep. I love that. I love that album cover.
Yeah, it's a very iconic image, isn't it? Like,
Yep.
It's kind of in space. There's a chrome slam dancer with some skulls at his feet, and big, bold, simple D.R.I in red.
Honestly, I miss. Some bands still do it, but I miss the designing artwork like that, where you make your album look like it's important and it stands out, and you have your own logo. Because there's so many bands these days that go to a similar artist to do a similar thing, and while it does look cool and will attract my eye, it's not an album cover that 20 years down the line we're going to go, oh man, it's just going to be like, which one is that? Because like that one guy drew like 20 album covers in 1 year.
As long as it's not the trend of fucking like, and please don't take this as me just shitting on metalcore again for like the 14th episode in a row. As long as it's not that fucking trend of every, quote unquote important metal album in the 2010s just being a shape.
Oh yes,
with like a plural name,
yeah,
fucking angles or integers or some shit, you know.
I honestly, the one thing that like, I guess it started with some metalcore bands, but I think it's a holdover from like some emo-ish shit too, where there were like so many album covers that just featured like a random girl on the cover, and I was just like
in a coffin with like white skin,
or like there's this one of the most awful album covers. I think the band is called Alexis on Fire, and it's like a girl in a schoolgirl outfit holding a knife, and I just look at it and I go, I realize I think they were like more of an independent band at that point, but I look at it and go, there's the epitome of like what I don't like about that era of those kind of bands is that everything was like We got to put a girl on our album cover. What's she going to be doing? She's going to be holding a knife, or she's going to be covered in blood, or whatever. And I'm just, it's that shit just.
My girlfriend broke up with me.
Yeah,
I'm really upset about that.
I love how you went. You went into Tom DeLonge territory on that part.
It's what is that era, man. It is they fluctuate between one to the other, and my opinion has softened on that era, but it very quickly became a parody of itself.
Yeah. There's I've often said that, like, there's a point. I love that we're having this conversation and it's not about crossover thrash at all. But I always, from being back in the day, and I did listen to like emo in the 90s and some of these bands that would later like influence like metalcore and melodic hardcore, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Anyway, but I remember seeing the music video for I don't remember what the name of the song is, but it's the most famous song from Hawthorne Heights. And when I saw that, I went, this is jumped the shark. This genre of music has jumped the shark, because it's got that thing where the lyrics are very like overly dramatic, because like the chorus has got that part where he's like, slit my wrists and black my eyes, and then of course you have the obligatory guy after him that has to go slit my wrists and black my eyes, like he has to, and it's just so like it's like the things that I don't like about that type of music all encompassed in this one track, where I'm just like,
Ohio is for lovers.
Oh, even the title. Come on.
Yeah.
I know people that fucking love that band and that song. I get it. I think it's a time and place kind of thing. But for me, I heard that and I got so annoyed at so many bands that were doing the melodic vocal with the guy screaming the same exact line that the melodic vocal just sang. And it got to the point where I started to and especially when you would have a female singer in a metal band, there always had to be a guy that screamed something, and I started referring to it as the overbearing boyfriend vocal, because it's like the girl is like, I'm singing this part, and then the other guy's like, that's my girlfriend. Don't look at her. And so, like, every
time... You can be impressed, but don't you dare check her out!
Yeah, so every single band ever in the history of music that has done, all the way back to Evanescence, where she's like, she could have easily just done that song herself without the guy going, can't wake up, because he's just the fucking overbearing boyfriend that's like, don't look at my girlfriend! That's... I know they weren't dating, but still, that's what it comes across to as me, because there's always that dude. It's like, we don't need you. We don't need you. What's her name? Is it Amy Lee from Evanescence? Is that her name? Amy Lee?
Amy Lee, yeah.
She doesn't need anybody with her. She's great on her own. And so, like, but obviously it wasn't just the females, but like, there's bands that still do that today. And every time I hear it, I go, are we still doing this? Do we still need to do this? Like, you don't need to scream the same thing that the person just sang. It's very rare that that's effective for me. Anyway,
there's a really funny guy called Kyle Gordon, and he's like a comedian on online, but he makes songs. He'll like completely dissect an entire like subgenre of music in one song.
Yeah, I think I've seen some of those.
Yeah, the one that killed me was like the 90s Eurodance one. Is hilarious, but there's another one he did on like the emo pop punk thing, and like one of the lines is black tears, they stain my broken cheeks, I'm like a dead black rose in the middle of the night, you abandoned me on the side of the highway. Which highway? The highway of life. It's so funny. It's so funny. Like he did a couple of skits recently as like a new metal guy.
Yeah.
And I'm dying to see if he does a new metal song, 'cause that would complete me. But like so many of these things he's done are just so funny. So yeah, if anybody is listening, go check out Kyle Gordon. His songs are on.
Look at me say if anybody is listening. That's
Yeah,
that's a sad way to look at our show. Is anybody listening?
Yeah, sorry. I forget that
anybody listening?
I kind of forgot we don't do this live for a second. I was like, if anybody's out there, let's just go check him out.
Nobody's
Yeah.
out there.
Nobody's out there. We're the last two fucking guys left somehow.
There's going to be a fucking apocalypse and everything's going to be wiped out. But if we're still alive, I'm going to be like, hey, we doing the show?
We're both going to be sat on like two separate sand dunes in the middle of two completely devastated hellscapes. And we're going to be like, yeah, so, yeah, The Legacy is a pretty good Testament album.
Yeah. It's going to be a thing where, like, in the scenario of this big budget movie, most of the world is wiped out except for us and like a handful of other people, and then we become like their one source of entertainment, and then we build an entire new world based on our musical viewpoints and us just talking about music, because all instruments were destroyed, and so we just have to like explain like how great they were, and then hopefully through us over the years everything will be built back up musically just like it was, only we're going to leave out overbearing boyfriend vocals.
I'm going to take all of that and I'm just going to add part one.
Yes. Part one, and then part one is still 3.5 hours long anyway. And then after part two, which is going to be more closer to 4 hours, then there's going to be a prequel.
And there's a director's cut of all of these.
Yeah, that's true. And then you're going to end up being a series as well. This, if only this would be a cool thing if we had any kind of clout whatsoever in the world. We could
We're working on it
with some cool shit. Anyway,
we're gonna be a sleeper hit, and then everybody's gonna be like, "Where the fuck were we?"
I'm just waiting for it. I'm waiting. It's been a long time. It's a good thing that I really love doing this.
It's been a long time.
It's been a while.
Without you, my friend. Sorry.
Where were we? Were you talking about an album?
Yeah,
Number
crossover.
4. You were on crossover. Oh, 'cause I think we literally went from the crossover album cover to us being the last two living music historians on the planet. And back to business.
It's kind of it's their first. They've definitely gone into the there's. This was recorded in California, and it shows. Is what I'll say. This is the relocation album where it's like, oh shit, thrash metal. Am I right?
They got real beaches here.
They got mad beaches up in here. Yeah, it's fucking killer. It's great. It's the point at which like the iconic, to my ear at least, like they really start to develop that, oh shit, this is D.R.I.
Yeah.
This seamless blend of thrash metal and hardcore punk ethos.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's badass. 5-Year Plan is a hell of an opening song as well.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So simply put, it's pretty good, ain't it?
Yeah. It is.
Wait, Paul Stanley.
Oh, okay.
Paul Stanley in the house.
Okay.
Every once in a while, we like to get a little wasted. We like to take a taste of alcohol.
Or soda.
Who are we kidding? But yeah. Bada boom, bada bing.
That is if that doesn't sound like somebody who doesn't really drink. Who the fuck says take a taste of alcohol? I too enjoy your human alcohol.
I partake in the consumption of intoxicating substances from time to time.
Because I don't know. I don't know if Paul was that kind of partier. I don't know if he, because I don't think Gene not drink. Paul probably didn't drink either.
I think Paul was
Ace
just
did for sure.
yeah. I think Paul was that. I think Paul was drowning in that much tail. He had no choice but to be high on life.
But
I think he would.
but was he? Have you ever heard any groupie talk about sleeping with Paul Stanley?
I mean, I was just
you
going
can
off,
you can remember.
Well, here's the thing, right? I'm going to come right out and say it. I remember. Did we talk about this? Have we talked about this before?
Probably. We're back on Kiss, everybody. Welcome to Kiss Part 4.
There's like a database online of like groupie encounters.
Oh, yes.
And
it was talking about their dick size or something like that.
Rockstar Nick database. I don't know.
Rockstar dick size database. .com.org.edu.
There is one out there, and I need to remember what it was. But I remember there it is, the penis chart on Metal Sludge. Here it is.
All right, let's find out.
Adding this to my favorites.
Look
okay.
for Paul Stanley, just to be sure.
Okay, hold on, everybody.
Ooh.
Right, so the long and short of it, world famous penis chart. Okay, right.
Where does Eddie Sparxx fall in this chart?
I'm gonna come out and say it. I'm in the upper 60%.
Whoa!
Nice.
Good for you.
No, it's the best part is the very first person mentioned here is a dude from Everclear, immediately followed by Phil Anselmo from Pantera.
Is it Art Alexis from Everclear?
Yeah.
What did they say about him? That's the main dude, the singer.
We need, you know what? We need to do an entire episode on this at some point.
Put that on the list. But now, just do a Command F search for Paul Stanley for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a Command F, Paul Stanley. Okay, right. Where are we at? Paul Stanley, 129. Paul Stanley, Kiss, about 7 to 8 inches, and he'll treat you very nice. He loves his hairy chest. One girl told me, the only problem is when you're having sex with him, you get the impression he's performing for 20,000 screaming fans. I have honestly never seen anyone look more R-worded while having an orgasm.
Oh, man.
I thought he was having a seizure. Overall, I'd give him a 9 in the sack, even though it was all I could do to keep from laughing when he came.
Nice. But that kind of answers my question, because like there was like, back in the day, there's like, because for some people this shit's important. They're like, is he straight or is he gay? Is he into chicks or is he into dudes? The answer to the question is he's into Paul Stanley.
Hell yeah. And you know what? I respect the shit out of that.
I do. I respect that too.
You know what? Because if I was Paul Stanley, I'd make me horny too. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to really quickly add to the Crank to Rank schedule as we're speaking. I'm going to put
Rockstar Cockstar or something.
Rockstar. I'm putting it right after Dangerous Toys for the time being. It doesn't mean
that's a good place to put it. Because we're going to be talking about sporting a Woody when we talk about Dangerous Toys. Spoiler alert: there's going to be Dangerous Toys.
I forgot how crazy the lyrics are.
Is Jason McMaster on the list? That's what, I'm like, save it.
Okay,
you're gonna get there, because I personally know Jason McMaster, so I don't know if I want to know his dick size, but.
Do you know what? I'm gonna preemptively. I'm not gonna say anything about it, but Jason. We got Jason Hook.
They don't call him McMaster for nothing.
Jason McMaster is on the list.
All right. Coming soon. Literally.
Damn right.
Cranked
Ace Frehley, tell me about it. Oh, actually, I'm a plumber. Oh man.
All right. Hey, where are we? D.R.I.
D.R.I.
You done with crossover?
Yes, damn good.
Yeah.
Damn good.
Yeah, way better for me too because it's not my number 4. My number 4 is Thrash Zone from 1989. Their 5th album, even more thrash. Like I feel like crossover to Four of a Kind to Thrash Zone, they really like amped up to where they're just like we're a thrash band because now they're not. It's not called Crossover Zone. It's called Thrash Zone because that's where they're in the Thrash Zone. They have longer songs on this. They had 2 music videos from this album for Beneath the Wheel and Abduction. And I really enjoy this album. This to me is like the peak of their we're thrash. Like I think Thrash Zone is where it's the best done of that, where they've gone into the thrash world and then they nailed it with Thrash Zone. I also feel like Thrash Zone is this band in general, but specifically this album is super influential to Municipal Waste because there's so many similarities between the bands and the way they do stuff musically. I love Municipal Waste, but they probably wouldn't exist without D.R.I, and I think they would probably admit that too. But sometimes I listen to Thrash Zone and my brain just goes, "Ooh, I want to listen to Municipal Waste next," because it just triggers that part of my brain. Like, oh, this sounds like that Municipal Waste thing. Which we haven't done Municipal Waste. That'll be a fun one to get to later on. And they're on the list, folks, in case you're wondering.
I saw them supporting Anthrax a few years back, and they were fucking killer live.
They put on an amazing show. I've seen them twice now, and they. I went from being kind of a casual Municipal Waste fan, and then recently I saw. Well, I guess it's probably been 3 years now since I saw them last time. But the last time I saw them, like they were the standout band of the night, and that was a show that had Carcass and Sacred Reich also playing. So, but they literally, I was just so blown away at their performance and how they get the crowd going, the whole thing. You go to a show and the band is one part of it. The band is like, for me, 75% of going to a show. 25% is the crowd. How is the crowd at that show? That's what puts together like a really great show for me. If the band's amazing and the crowd's amazing, that's a perfect show. And that was that Municipal Waste performance was just like 45 minutes of like, holy fuck, okay. Anyway, back to the Thrash Zone. Thrash Zone's great. Like I said, I put it at number 4 because I really enjoy the 3 above it more than this one. But if I'm like, I want to hear some D.R.I. and I want to hear thrash D.R.I., it's going to be Thrash Zone. I'm going to be in the Thrash Zone. And so that's my number 4.
Nice. So, funnily enough, my number 3 is Four of a Kind.
Okay.
So we're doing a little 3-4 swapsies.
Man, we have not matched up anywhere.
No. Yeah, this one is, to me, this was the point where, okay, yeah, these guys are confidently doing the thrash thing now. Crossover was dressed up and it looks thrash. There's still like an off the railsness to it.
Yeah.
But I definitely agree that this is the album where it's like, okay, yeah, this is just a tight thrash band coming together and being like, okay, right, we've done more of a punky thing. Let's do a really tight metal thing. And it's great. One thing I will say is that going into this, I kind of expected it to be a little step back into the punk zone with its, presentation. You know, it's kind of sandwiched between 2 much more outwardly metal album covers, and this one has more in common with the first 2. At least to me, especially dealing with it. But I guess that's because there's just so much going on. But ultimately, it's a badass thrash album, and the songs are still pretty short, save for a couple that approach the 5 minute mark, but it's they've gotten really strong at this point at doing the thrash thing, and it really suits them. And considering they didn't start out doing this, that they got this good at this, is really fucking cool to hear, that this natural progression. And I love an album that works its numerical value into its title cleverly. So 4 of a Kind definitely gets that respect from me. And it's just great. It's great. All round, they're good at what they do at this point. They're really, really good. So with that, it's just a damn good thrash metal album, really. In the crossover realm, but I think this is probably one of the most outwardly thrash of their albums.
Yeah. Cool. My number 3 is the Dirty Rotten EP/LP from 1983. So this one, to me, everything about this release, if any part of it was different, it wouldn't work for me. So I love the fact that it's 22 tracks, but they could originally they fit it on a 7-inch because it's that short. I love the way the recording sounds, because they recorded it at Kurt Brecht's house. Who knows what the circumstances were, like what kind of area they had to record in, but it's literally like DIY, and it's that sound, the sound they got recording themselves with this kind of raw hardcore punk stuff. It just sounds so absolutely perfect in a way that that can't ever happen again. Like, there's never going to be another period of time, and unless they're after the apocalypse, everyone's able to build back up again, and then all of a sudden you got a fucking 8-track machine that you're recording on or whatever. But bands do demos now, and they'll be like, "Oh, this is just a raw demo version," and it doesn't sound very much different than the fucking album version that comes out a year later. But it's gotten to the point now that when I was in bands back in the day, I was a little bit embarrassed at poor sound quality and recording stuff ourselves. But now I go and listen to that. I love hearing demos from the 80s and the 90s and the early 90s. Especially when it's a really great band and they have good material and a lot of energy. And then on top of that, this recording that just sounds so like, I mean, for lack of, I mean, it's basically just like somebody, like just gave you this tape, like it has that quality of, this isn't, millions of people aren't hearing this. This is you and me. Put this tape on, and every time I listen to this album, I just love everything about how it sounds. It's just an urgent, youthful, unhinged, 17, 18 minutes worth of music. And once again, like even if they were older versions of themselves, they couldn't have done this. So their ages were correct. Their ability at playing their instruments and writing songs was correct. Like, it's just, and there are other bands that I would say, like, the first Suicidal Tendencies album. That's another one where everything about that is perfect for what it needs to be. And I would you could listen to it and go, well, the recording could have been better. There's some mistakes here, or blah, 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 blah. But I'm all like, no, it's perfect. Like, it is perfect. And really the only reason this ends up at number 3 is because I'm giving them credit for pushing their sound forward and being very successful while still having an urgent, sort of unhinged kind of vibe going on with my number 1 and number 2. But this is like the only thing that they did that I would call perfect. It's like, just because like all that shit I just said, I just put it on and I'm just like, this is it. Just, you're in the fucking garage with them or whatever, and I absolutely love that. So Dirty Rotten EP/LP goes here, and it's great. It's just, don't touch it. I just, that's the thing. I love. Sometimes I'll get bored and I'll go on YouTube and I'll look up, 80s thrash demo or 80s hardcore demo, because sometimes you'll run into bands that you've never even fucking heard of, but somebody uploaded a 4-song demo from like 1986, and you're just like, oh, this is so great.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it almost hurts my heart that I'm just like, why I want there to be a record label. I would love there to be a record label. And this is what I want the record label to do. I want this record label goes through and scours the internet and finds people that have these rare, basically unknown demos from these bands, some of which that maybe went to do bigger things, some that didn't. But I want them to put out professional presentations, like put it on vinyl or even fucking put it on cassette. But don't fuck with the sound, or if they have original artwork, put the artwork as it is. But I would just love to start holding up that era of stuff as, this is important. It doesn't deserve to be tacked on to the end of a 22-song special edition. It deserves, like fucking Metallica, they put out a special version of like No Life Till Leather on cassette for like Record Store Day or some shit. I don't have it, unfortunately. But that demo is its own thing. It's, and I think other demos of that era should be treated that way, because it's like I said, we're not getting that shit back. We're not getting that feeling, that sound, the perfect marriage of forging new ground with music that hadn't been done before, with technology that's just like struggling to like get to keep up, and we're just, they're butting heads, but they're doing it, they're making it work. I would love that. If there is a label that does that type of shit, please let me know, because I would be interested in that, because that's the first thing I think of when I hear a really great shitty sounding demo on YouTube. I'm all like, put this on vinyl for me. Put it on vinyl, please. Somebody do it. Because you will have my money for that kind of shit. Anyway, there are some that I have where they've actually done that with a few more unknown bands, and I wish they would do it more. Anyway, all right, Dirty Rotten EP/LP, my number 3.
Cool. That brings me to my number 2.
Number 2.
My number 2 is 1992's Definition.
All right.
This is the best sounding D.R.I. album.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just straight up. This is fucking awesome. Further proof that 1992 was the peak of human civilization, and we have been on a downward trajectory ever since. It is just, it's that heavy but spacious thing I always talk about on this show.
Yeah.
It exists in a space, but it's still chunky and heavy. It's great, kicking things off with Acid Rain right through the Target. I didn't realize at the time that I'd listened to, the online version, which has all the tracks as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
But the thing I think is cool is that back in the day, each individual album got a bonus track, depending on the format. And the LP bonus track was Out of Mind. The cassette bonus track was Hide Your Eyes. And the CD bonus track was Dry Heaves.
I wish more bands would do stuff like that too. And get off your fucking high horses, the people that are like, they're just trying to get money from you. No, because you don't have to buy them. So if you want to buy them with the different tracks, then you buy them. I just, I think that's, at this point with physical media, I'm like, go ape shit. Yeah. Because get it out there. That's because people want it, and that's what's keeping this thing going. So
yeah, you got the old
my soapbox.
Taylor Swift dropping 4 different album covers. You got to collect them all.
Yeah. I would rather her do that than her continuously put out a new digital version of an album with 3 extra tracks. I'm like, well, what's the fucking point of that? You know, there's like there's no point. But I guess for people that don't collect physical music, I guess you could collect music in your Spotify. That sounds like a sad life. But that's just my opinion.
I remember the first time I got a streaming platform. I've been using Spotify, and like, don't get me wrong, I know it's one of the less ethical ones, and I get it. But so much of the interface of what I've built in for this show now. Plus, it allows me to do playlists for this show on there while you take care of the Apple Music side of things. Please pay attention to this shelf over here in the back. I have bought so many fucking CDs on top of vinyl, on top of tapes. Yeah. Over the years, I've put more than my fair share back into things.
I mean, streaming serves a very important purpose these days for even, obviously for your average listener, but for people like me too. Because there's no MTV or radio stations that I'm listening to. So if there's a new band that I don't know, I have to have somewhere to listen to their stuff. And usually it's going to be me going to Apple Music or Bandcamp a lot of times. But obviously, like, if I really like it, if I get 2 to 3 tracks into your streaming album and you have a vinyl, I'm ordering it. Like, that's just how it works for me. But Melvin, what's going on? Do you need to get out of the room?
Is that a certified good boy on the show?
Yeah. I'm gonna let him out real quick.
Okay. Dun, 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 dun. I am stolen for old head while he takes his dog out. I tried to tell him earlier because I have a little dog bed in my room and he's just curled up asleep, and I was like, Melvin, I'm closing the door. You're stuck in here with me. And he didn't even budge. And I was like, all right, just stay in here with me. But then eventually he knows that there's other dogs out there. Did we ever even have the discussion that I now have 7 dogs? Did we ever have that discussion? It's cool. I think we might have. I'm not sure on the numbers.
Because our oldest dog, Apollo, passed away last year. He was 15, 16 years old. But he had health issues, and he had to be put to sleep. But it was so funny because he passed away, and then on New Year's Eve, like literally New Year's Eve, the last day of the year, I'm looking outside, and I always see there's always dogs roaming around my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Some of them just escape. Some of them are literally like they don't have homes and they're dirty and fucked up looking. But I got to the point where I was like, we can't bring in any more dogs. So it's got to be the kind of thing where I see a dog several times. Clearly they don't have an owner. Clearly they're not getting food, or, they're really dirty. So I was being really like, no, we can't keep bringing dogs in here because it's a lot. And then on New Year's Eve during the day, I see a little white pit bull come by, and I'm like, and she's got like her teats are hanging because I'm like, oh, she's a mom. And I was like, oh, there's a new one. I haven't seen her before. And then following behind her is a little baby pit bull. And so immediately I go, shit. This thing was like weeks old, if that. And so I go out, and I'm like, okay, I got to at least go out, maybe because we have food out front because we have like neighborhood cats, and we feed some of the neighborhood cats and raccoons. Because we have an adorable raccoon that looks like a fucking stuffed animal that comes over and eats food. Anyway, so I see them, and I go out to see if they want to get some food, and then the white mom pit bull is like super friendly and sweet, and then my wife comes out, and the little puppy had like gone under our house because our house is like a pier and beam house, like it's on blocks or whatever, And so we're trying to get this puppy to come back out. And eventually, like, the puppy comes back out to come back with his mom. And my wife just goes, well, they're coming inside. And so we bring him inside. And so that, lo and behold, right at the end of the year, we lose one dog, we gain two. So we have and we name this is going to be the most unmetal thing that I'm going to tell you, but I named these dogs off of the show New Girl. Have you ever heard of that show, New Girl?
No, actually, I haven't.
Okay, it's a show. It stars. I can't even remember her name because she's not the important part of.
When is it from?
The show. New Girl was from the 2010s ish era. New Girl. It's got Zooey Deschanel. She's in it.
Oh, wait a minute. I recognize it now.
So anyway, we were bringing him in and we're throwing around names, and I keep calling the white dog, the mom, New Girl. And so I'm like, I keep going, hey, New Girl, New Girl. I'm like, okay, well, I really like that show, New Girl. It just makes me laugh. And I'm like, and the main girl's name is Jess. So we named the mom Jess. And then my favorite character from New Girl is named Winston. So the little boy, his name is Winston. So that's their names. Very, very unmetal. Because not only is it like doggies, but also some sitcom from television that's like very not metal, but that's where their names came from.
Nah, that's fucking awesome, dude. Like genuinely, I was at the beach yesterday. It was, funnily enough, sandwiched between two horrendously rainy days. Yesterday we had a really sunny day for the first time in fucking ages. And at one point, I've actually been quite sick, like, all week. Like, this is one of the first days where I felt well enough to do anything. But yesterday, it was so nice out, and I was starting to feel better, that I thought to myself, do you know what? I'm going to go outside. I'm going to enjoy some vitamin D. Going to go outside, see the sun. Walked around town a little bit, and then went to the beach. And I got secondhand excitement for about a full half hour watching this golden retriever play in the water at the beach, and there is just something so pure about dogs, and I'm not in a position to where I could commit to one.
I totally understand that.
But whenever I see one, my day is instantly better.
Yeah, especially when they're well taken care of dogs, because people can mistreat.
Yeah.
That's the thing is I now have 3 pit bulls, a dog that some people would immediately go, oh, we'll just wait till that dog attacks you. I'm like, no, because our pit bulls are like the sweetest dogs we have. The meanest dogs we have are a couple of the smallest ones. But even then, they're not mean to us. They're just mean in general to other people. But pit bulls are like very smart, very emotional, and sweet, and they're the big reason that I can't move to England. So because they're banned in England, which is depressing. Which makes it even more of like a thing where I'm like, well, fuck you. I'm just going to get a shitload of pit bulls.
Yeah,
and then stay here in this godforsaken country.
I think as well. I think as well, like it very much comes down to the owners.
Yes.
And the unfortunate thing is that a quote unquote aggressive breed will appeal to a certain type of person. I'm doing this air quotes thing.
Yeah, air quote, yeah. I see.
And that's how things get a reputation, is because, something goes hand in hand with something and gets a bad name, which is unfortunate because, I've seen, I've seen a quote unquote aggressive dog breed look incredibly cute, and I'm thinking, man, there's nothing evil in those eyes of yours. Come here, you.
Dogs are pure creatures. They can be manipulated and corrupted.
You know what? If there's anything that points to humanity having a hope, the best thing we ever did was pussify a wolf into being a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like how occasionally, when we're hanging out and like our biggest pit bull, Holly, she's pretty big. She'll just be sitting on one of us, and sometimes my wife will go, "She's so sweet, but she could just kill both of us." I'm like, yeah, isn't that kind of cool though? Like she could just rip somebody apart, but she's one of ours,
Dude, I always love those like big like Alaskan Malamute looking things that's
Yeah.
like I could ride you into fucking battle, but all you want is kibble.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a nice derailment because of my dog Melvin, our Schnauzer, he's like the lookout guy of the house. He's very serious about watching over us and alerting us that something is outside.
I see that's something else I think is fucking adorable. Is, he's appointed himself, night watch.
Yes.
Or day watch, whatever. Either
He's
way.
always all watch. I don't even. He occasionally will fall asleep, but I don't think it's for very long. He's up even at night, like heard something.
This ape is pretty cool. I'm gonna guard him with my fucking life.
Yeah.
Even though I'm like about 5% of his size. We're gods to these things. Yeah. Yeah. Dogs fucking rule. Yeah. But ultimately, definition by D.R.I.
Definition.
Yeah. I'm gonna take a little moment here to read this album cover. D.R.I. Dirty, dirty, vile, obscene, lewd, low, contemptible, rotten, bad, morally corrupt, imbecile. Persons of defective mentality, but above the level of an idiot.
I love that there's. I love that
me.
I love that we created words for levels of stupid.
Yeah, I've never given much thought to it. To be fair, the hierarchy of dumb. I never get
idiot and then imbecile. Where does moron go? Where does moron fit in that hierarchy?
I don't know. You know what? Well, I know this has been an episode full of tangents, but you know what? I've been rewatching SpongeBob.
Yeah.
And the thing that's been making me laugh the most, especially in these first 3 seasons, is the fact that Patrick is so dumb, but every now and again he'll say the most wisdom thing out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then just immediately go back to being completely dense. And it's the one line that always sticks in my head is, "The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma." And then it just like goes to a thought bubble and it's just milk spilling in his head. Oh man. Talk about something that holds up. That show, even as an adult, that show is funny as
We've talked about it before. That was one of the few things when my kid was really little that I would watch and I'd be like, I'd legitimately enjoy this. So
yeah. The pizza delivery episode is still my favorite. When they're in that like storm, when they get lost and there's like a tornado and shit blowing them around. Would you let go of that pizza? No, it's for the customer. Who cares about the customer? I do. Yeah, well, I don't. And it just like the storm stops for SpongeBob to go, Squidward, and then goes back to blowing him around. That always made me laugh. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but definition by D.R.I. Great, great early 90s, great sounding thrash album. You know what, as well, like, I know we often talk about the early 90s and whatnot. There's no discernible grunge or groove influence here. It's still very much entrenched in the thrash thing. There's maybe a little bit of groove going on, but, for the most part, this band never seemed drawn towards that. They didn't seem fazed by it.
Yeah, it pretty much puts to sleep any thoughts that they were following a trend when they got thrashy, because 92 and then 95 they're still putting out thrash albums.
Yeah.
So it's like it's legitimately the music they wanted to make. They just started as a hardcore band and moved into thrash, and so and that because that happens. People will make different music because they want to. Isn't that fucking weird?
Yep. People. Ugh.
People's is people's.
Group think mentality. A lot of people succumb to. That's been a beautiful thing about this show is learning about how prevalent the group think is and how fun it is to let go of that.
Oh yeah. I don't, it's baffling to me living your life feeling like there has to be a definite best or worst or things you're supposed to do and not supposed to do when it comes to what's essentially entertainment or, something like that. And I realize for a lot of people, myself included, music is way more than entertainment, but it's other people have made music and you're listening to it and you're a fan of it and it may be important to your life, but you didn't make it. So, but it's the same thing when people get fucking bent out of shape about football or something. And I'm just like, you're watching dudes play a game and you're upset about it. So anyway.
This is one of those bands really quick before we move on. I'm realizing now that there is no set like D.R.I. logo to where it is.
No,
and
the guy,
that's what I was going to say. This is one of those bands that have an image logo and not a word logo, which I always find interesting when a band lands on that, because every single release after Crossover, I believe, has the little slam dancing guy on it. So yeah, Crossover, Four of a Kind has it in the top corners. Thrash Zone again is right in the middle. It's all over Definition.
Yeah.
And Full Speed Ahead has it at the front of the ship.
Well, I mean, if you have a good logo, stick with it. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. I just find it interesting whenever it's not the band's name, but an image that it happens for. Kind of like Vic Rattlehead,
Sure, but Megadeth does have a logo as well.
It does have an iconic logo, but it is interesting. I'm trying to think of other bands that have that. I suppose Prince turned himself into a symbol.
Well, that was out of necessity, but I can't think. I know they exist out there, and somebody watching this will chime in months from now, and they'll list a band name, and I'll be like, "What does he mean? Why did he comment that? His video is 6 months old."
Didn't Radiohead have a little like bear dude?
Yeah, but that's not. You don't see that and know it's Radiohead unless you're a Radiohead fan.
True.
Well, I guess same thing goes with D.R.I, but they didn't use the bear thing in more than one or two. Like the Kid A Amnesiac album cycle, that's all they used it for.
Oh, you got the Rolling Stones mouth, and the
that is one.
The Nirvana smiley face.
Led Zeppelin, the Swan Song guy.
Oh yeah. You know what? I'm gonna get website status risky. We're backing out of that one. Let's have a look here. And you know what? I'm gonna have a look at some.
I'm just randomly looking around my room trying to be like, what's the one that doesn't have the band name in it? That's a logo. Sorry guys, I don't know if this is even interesting at all, but we're gonna do it anyway.
I don't know.
Public Enemy. Public Enemy has the guy in the crosshairs. That's one.
Dead Kennedys has that.
What's theirs?
It's the DK symbol.
But that's technically the band name. It's the initials. That doesn't count.
Yeah, I suppose. God, whatever happened? You know what? What happened to Google Images, man? What happened to me just clicking on a fucking image and it being an image, not a link to someone's fucking website?
Yeah.
Queen have that coat of arms.
I can't even think of what that looks like right now, though.
It's got the two lions, there's and a crab, and it's their star signs worked into a coat of arms.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty cool.
Yes. Anyway,
Yes.
let's move. Let's keep.
Oh, and the Grateful Dead, Red Hot Chili Peppers, they've got a couple as well. Either way, bada boom, bada bing. We got hung on up on iconography.
That's all right. This is a short discography anyway. We're giving the fans their
Yeah.
time with us. I don't know. My number 2 D.R.I. album is the 1985 album "Dealing with It." Their second album, recorded here. I got dogs at my door. What do they want? Go away.
Orf, orf, orf.
Recorded here in Houston. Their first for Metal Blade, and it to me like it's they stepped up what they were doing with Dirty Rotten, which would make sense because now they're on a label and they're in a studio, but it's still kind of it maintains the hardcore off the rails energy from the Dirty Rotten EP. And I just think this is an album for me that is just absolute fun. It just blows past me when I listen to it because I'm having such a great time listening to it. And it, yeah. And this is for another band that we're into. Anthrax covered 2 songs from this. As B-sides for Volume 8, I believe. They covered a combo of Snap and I'd Rather Be Sleeping with Scott on vocals, which is, they're pretty great covers. But yeah, Dealing with It is just one of those albums that I have to admit, the artwork has always looked kind of sloppy and lame to me. But it is what it is. It's just I look at it and I go, I could have done better with this artwork. But at this point, that's just what it looks like. But musically speaking, I really love this sort of like main stage version of what they were doing on the EP. And there's some classic D.R.I. songs. I'm pretty sure that when they play live shows now, a big chunk of what they play is from Dealing with It anyway, and a little from the few other albums too. But I just think of its time with bands like this, the hardcore bands that were headed towards the thrash world. There's a handful of bands that I think did it really well, and it's really enjoyable, and D.R.I. is one of them. So Dealing with It ends up being my number 2. Their second album is my number 2.
Cool. So, my number 1 D.R.I. album is Thrash Zone.
Thrash Zone.
Thrash
Get
Zone.
in the zone. Sorry, you guys don't have AutoZone over there, do you? It's a auto parts place over here called AutoZone, and the song.
I've heard of the place, and I think I've heard it in a meme. Funnily enough,
yeah, because the commercial will always have a guy going, "Get in the zone, AutoZone." That's their thing.
Nice. I'm gonna do one for the British listeners.
Oh, okay.
Auto glass repair, auto glass replace. There we go.
Wow. That's not quite as good.
Nah. You ain't heard it in the right context, my guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, hang on. Actually, why did I bore the audience with that? I said you buy one, you get one free. I said you buy one, you get one free. Have I ever shown you that?
No.
Okay, it's this guy doing something about like double glazing or windows, but it's just this dude just running around pushing windows over, and he's like, "You buy one, you get one free." I said, "You buy one, you get one free," and it's an icon, frankly. You know what? Hang on, where is it? You buy one, you get one free. Where is it?
Is that going to bring anything up?
Yeah, it did. Okay, all right, here we go. Here we go. Safe Style UK. You know what? I want you to open this on your phone right now, I want you to open this on your phone right now near the microphone.
Okay.
Because we need to see your reaction to, frankly, an icon.
Oh,
of
okay.
Remember that bog off offer from SafeStar UK? Well, it's back. You know the one. You buy one, you get one free. I said you buy one, you get one free. Right now, for every single window door that you buy, I'll give you another one absolutely free. And you can still buy now and pay next year. Plus, there's flexible monthly payments to suit you. And SafeStar are still giving you free fitting. Trust me, it's free fitting. So call 0800 106 107. I said 0800 106 107 now.
Nice.
I genuinely don't think there's been a time in the last 30 years where that hasn't been on the TV to some extent.
Yeah. That's the one thing is that over here, I mean, I never watch regular television. There's no regular television ever happening anywhere in my life. So I don't get to see, because I know there's still those commercials that have been out for years and years that are still on the television.
Yeah.
And I miss some of them, but I just, but now they're so far away from me because I'm just like, what commercials are now all like things that you skip in 30 seconds or really it's just advertising another show or something that you're watching on whatever streaming service you're watching. But that I don't have any nostalgia for commercials, really. I have to say.
I need to know how long that. Okay, hang on. Here it is. So Jeff Brown is known for starring in SafeStar's window adverts from 1999 to 2006, and is also often the match announcer.
That was from 1999.
Yeah,
because he looks like Michael Bolton or something like that, or the guy that was on the train in Ghost. Remember that movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze?
Yeah. I've just found this out. The same guy from that advert, the guy that was doing you buy one, you get one free. And I had no idea this happened. In 2016, Jeff Brown pleaded guilty to 6 counts of tax evasion and was given a 20-month prison sentence, suspended for 2 years. Damn. Timothy Brennan, defending, said Brown has now got his finances in order by completing an accountant and a bookkeeper.
And you will no longer be getting one for free. He learned his lesson the hard way.
Yeah.
You know what? You're charged for both of them. Full price and full price. You're lucky we're even coming over to do your windows.
Oh man, dude, that's not how I expected my commercial nostalgia trip to go. But yeah,
Thrash Zone.
Thrash Zone. I said you thrash one, you zone one free. Yeah, so Thrash Zone. Is the 5th album by American crossover thrash band D.R.I.
Now he's reading wikis.
1989. So yeah, it's fucking great. It's awesome. Upon listening to this album, even though I knew I had a couple albums ahead, I was like, this is probably going to be the one for me. It just kept ticking boxes for me as it kept going along. And it's that kind of thrash that's so unapologetically right in your face with what it's saying that you give it a pass. It's like to the point where this don't need metaphors. This is so to the point it kicks ass. Even down to lines that shouldn't feel relevant to me now, but are anyway. Is like, school's a job, but you don't get paid. It's that should feel cringy to me, but it doesn't. To a point where it's just so,
because we've all been there as school kids. It's just like, oh, you want me to do quote unquote work and I don't get paid? Knowledge is not payment, my friend.
Yeah. Every rose has its thorn. You know what? I'm amazed I never did that. Looking back, I'm amazed I never did some sort of like poetry recital of that, a la Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
But man, I regret not doing that now.
Maybe you did it when we did Poison. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
So long ago now.
Yeah, I know, that's crazy. I think that's pre. I think that's pre-video.
Yeah, that's from first year.
Damn, dude.
I'm pretty sure it was first year.
We've been doing this so long now. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. Ultimately, though, you know, Thrash Zone kicks ass.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
Cool. My number one is Crossover from 1987.
Nice.
Their third album, and the first where they're really incorporating thrash into their sound, but they still got some of the hardcore shit. Enough of it in there to keep the chaotic spirit that I really like from their early stuff. That's really like the reason why I like this album so much, is that it still has moments where I go, I feel like sometimes they're playing just a little too fast. And like they're like, oh shit, what are we?
Yeah.
The fucking horse is taking off. And I like that about some of it. All right, there's Melvin. Melvin heard something? He's seen something? Can you even hear that? Can you hear the barking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize.
I think I heard him say school's a job, but you don't get paid.
Yeah, he doesn't get paid shit for the work he does as a night and day watchman. But the Crossover is great.
He's doing the emo backing vocals.
Oh man, he's the overbearing boyfriend vocalist. But that's my life. He will.
I like Crossover.
He will see something and start barking at it, and then it will disappear from his view, and he will still be barking at it for 10 minutes because he's just like, "That's right, don't come back over here."
Yeah.
See, he's like, "And stay out. Tell your friends." But yeah, whether or not the term crossover was coined from this album is to be discussed and dissected. I don't know, but it's definitely one of the best of what would be considered crossover in my opinion, and it's the best D.R.I. album in my opinion. Just because I like that. I like that it's stepping into the thrash, but it's still got that young juice.
Yeah.
that it makes it sound fun. So that brings us to the end, because I don't even more to say. That's the thing, is that we've had so many derailments that I'm just like, you can only say so much about D.R.I. because sometimes there are bands that there's not a huge discussion to be had, and I'm okay with that. Like, I like bands like that sometimes, where it's just like, once you've discussed 2 or 3 albums, you've kind of said what you need to say, and sometimes a band like D.R.I. is exactly what you need for something like that. So, that's our ranking.
Man, we've talked about dogs. We've talked about SpongeBob. We've talked about New Girl. We've talked about emo
bands.
Yeah. We've talked about what else? Going to the beach.
Talked about Michael Bolton.
Bolton.
Buy one, you get one free.
Yeah, obscure UK window advertisement lore.
You guys, well, what other podcast gives you all of this?
Yeah,
huh? Is there one?
This
I
is
highly doubt it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're done here. So. All right.
Nice.
That's it.
Nice.
That's the celebration we do when we finish a band's discography, and that's it. That's it for D.R.I. I keep thinking, like, the thrash bands that we have left, people keep asking for Overkill and Exodus, and so we're going to get to them, obviously, eventually.
Yeah.
But then, of course, there's the whole: are we going to get into the to the German thrash. We can do the creators. And
Yeah,
stuff. And
we haven't touched on any German thrash yet, as far as I'm aware.
Creator is probably where we should start with that, but that'll be down the road when we want to get to that. Because I feel like a lot of the reason why I shy away from doing those bands is that I'm gonna make people mad. Because there are things that I love about all three of those bands I just mentioned, Creator, Exodus, and Overkill. But there's also things that I'm very critical of all three of those bands. And so it's one of those things where I'm like, some bands, their fans are just kind of lame. Sometimes. It's not all of you. But and sometimes I just don't want to even. I'm just like, we'll get to that one later. But I guess the same can be said. Like I said, the D.R.I. fans that fucking hate everything after dealing with it, or vice versa. But then there's us, and we like it all. And that's there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So, welcome to the class.
Whenever that album we're working on together gets dropped, that's the title now.
Welcome
to the glass.
Welcome to the class.
Welcome to the glass.
I am your father. I don't know what it is today, but my brain, like, I'm having trouble focusing. I think my allergies are like really crazy or something. And so like I've been trying so hard to like be focused and remember the things that I want to say and do a good podcast. And then just right then I knew we were done and my brain went boo. And then I went, welcome to the class.
I'm gonna be straight up with you. For the last week, as a result of like flu, I am just a giant pile of brain fog. There isn't an ounce of like, this was me trying very hard up here. That and 4 Carlsberg premium export pilsners. But aside from that, we are on to the covert special operations top secret end of the show section of the podcast.
Don't wait until everybody else leave.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Now, peanut butter platypuses, aluminium squirrels, Belvedere ball sitters, Christmas dogs. You guys can stay here for this. Cool. This is the after show where we talk about what we're doing next time on Cranked and Ranked. Next time on Welcome to the Glass. So why? It's not even funny. It's not even funny. Why is it funny? It's not funny.
I think you picked it up with some intention of there being some sort of reverb effect.
There was fucking nothing.
Oh man, dude. Yeah, I'm looking forward to these upcoming episodes.
No, I just saw that you put Rockstar Penis chart.
Yeah.
That's going to be exciting. Speaking of Rockstar Penises, next week is Slashed and Mashed Ramming Speed.
Yes. Yes, Speed of the Ramming.
Not the band Ramming Speed. Is there a band called Ramming Speed?
I'd be shocked if there isn't, but ours, I suppose the original title for it was going to be Twin Turbos, but we've upgraded the name.
I do like that title, but Ramming Speed is what we've been calling it since we first decided we were going to slash and mash these 2 albums. Those 2 albums being Turbo and Ram It Down. Which are kind of like a load and reload of each other, really.
Yeah, it's Judas Priest at the height of their pop metal sensibilities in the mid to late 80s. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely one I'm absolutely down for.
Fuck yeah! I'm excited. Just that this next weekend in preparation, I'm going to listen to both albums back to back.
Absolutely. I don't blame you in the slightest.
Spinning that vinyl and just like, because I love these albums, so that's going to be fun.
Yeah. It's
Heavy metal.
You know what? You know what song in recent years has just really done it for me is "Love You to Death."
Oh,
You know,
yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's just stripper riffage.
So tune in when you hear us. You're gonna hear me plead a very strong case for keeping parental guidance because I fucking love that song so much. It's so it's really dumb, but in the best way possible. It's just so good.
You know what? I'm gonna give a little bit of insight into the episode. I'm keeping that one as well.
All right. Well, you already know parental guidance is going on the list.
Parental guidance is staying, baby. Hell yeah. But yeah. So we've got Slashed and Mashed ramming speed.
Yes.
Turbo meets Ram It Down. A condensed version of the hypothetical original idea for those two albums to be a double album, because they were actually intended to be a double album called Twin Turbos.
But we're not gonna make it a double album. We're gonna make it a single album.
Yes,
which is why it's called Ramming Speed, and not Twin Turbo.
Yes,
because there's no twin. It's just Unos.
Yes,
one person or something.
Yeah.
Solo.
There's one penis involved here.
And it's Paul Stanley's.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's Rob Halford, so maybe not. Anyway.
Yeah, nope. There's probably at least two penises involved.
Yes. And that's absolutely awesome. So what we're gonna do is
I wish that I loved penises more than I do. I just don't. I'm just that's the way my brain works. But I would prefer to also love penises.
Hey man, sucking girl dick ain't gay. So
I haven't but I haven't run into that in my lifetime where I was attracted to a woman and then she had a penis, because if it was like a crying game kind of thing on my end where I fell in love with somebody and then all of a sudden she had a penis, I wouldn't be that bummed out about it. I'd be like, that's interesting because you're very attractive. So maybe I'm going to get into this whole penis thing. Or it's going to get into me. Fuck, I don't know. But
looks like lady is lady. So after that, talking about sport and woodies, we got dangerous
toys. I'm fucking excited about that just because I don't think you've ever heard the artist formerly known as Dangerous Toys. Have you heard that album?
I've not heard that one, no.
You're going to love it.
Oh,
you're going to love it.
Nice. Following that, I mean, currently we have the Rockstar Penis Chart episode.
Leave it there. I want to do it.
You want to do it? Man, dude.
So literally, it's going to be 3 episodes of cocks. It's the cock trilogy coming up on Cranked and Wanked.
Oh, dude. Do you know what? Should we make it?
Can you put that on put cock trilogy just so I'll remember that, because I would like to do that. What were you going to say?
I'm just because we're having so much fun with this, I'm gonna hypothetically watch this crazy motherfucker.
What?
Boom!
Whitesnake.
I'm gonna make March 2025.
You're gonna piss off so many people that listen to this that are just like, why are they just all they do now is this shit?
We have a cock rock extravaganza going on here.
Extravagasm.
Nice. Yeah. Of course, the list is subject to change.
Yeah.
We're having fun with it. As it stands right now, what are your genuine thoughts? Because the Whitesnake is a risk, because it is a big discography.
I do think we're pushing it at the trilogy of cock music.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and put Whitesnake back where it is because I agree. I think 3 is the magic number.
Because
right there.
I do kind of like the fact that we're going to do these, we're going to do the Cock trilogy and then go to 1997 where there's just going to be probably a lot of like, I don't even know what from 1997 I'm going to be talking about, but
I'm probably going to, I'm going to have some hot takes in 97, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then oh fuck, Galactic Cowboys. So Galactic Cowboys recently did a I don't mean to bring this down, have a bummer at the end of the episode, but I just now thought of this. They did a Kickstarter kind of thing, or whatever you call it. What is that called? The fundraiser kind of thing that you do for stuff? I don't remember.
Yeah,
is it Kickstarter?
GoFundMe,
one of those things.
Yeah. Kickstarter
for their album. And I'm one of the backers, and they went beyond their goal, so they're putting out a new album. They're working on a new album, but their original drummer couldn't join them for it, so they got this new guy. He's been in other bands back in the day that weren't like as well known, but he's an older dude, drummer for the band, and he came into the studio, and as far as I know, they recorded an entire album of new material, and then he just died. The drummer. New drummer.
Shit, dude.
Which is what was his name? Oh, I feel bad. We can talk about it when we do Galactic Cowboys, but they haven't said really anything since. I'm just like, holy shit! They literally just got this new drummer in, did an album, and then he passed away.
Damn, dude.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. This is going to be downtime because I can't type. Let's see. Johnny Simmons. Johnny Simmons was the guy who had just joined the band, and where was he? What band was it he was in that was kind of known? Atomic Opera. He was in a band called Atomic Opera back in I think the 90s. But yeah. So anyway, Galactic Cowboys is an amazing band, and I can't wait for you to hear their stuff because I think that you're going to really like a lot of it. But
yeah,
it just it sucks that like they had the momentum of like, oh, we got this new album and this new drummer and he didn't seem like an old fuck though. He looked like a healthy guy, and so it goes to show you, everybody, you never know. Tell your friends you love them. Tell your family you love them. Or whatever you feel like you need to do, because what is that? I feel like there's a song that I could quote, but I can't think of what it is. But tomorrow belongs to nobody or something like that. Is that a song? Tomorrow Never Knows from the Beatles. All right, so join us for the Cock trilogy next week. Part 1 of the Cock trilogy. I know it's not a very clever name, but it sounds good saying it. Cock trilogy.
I like it. I like Cock trilogy.
You're cut off.
Cock trilogy. There it is.
So join us next time for the first of the Cock trilogy. And did you put that on there? Because I want to remember Cock trilogy.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put Cock trilogy.
I'm going to put it at the top of my notes.
Part. I'm going to put part. And then I'm going to put 1, 2, and 3.
I love it. I like how like we're literally going to have, this is so perfect because here's why the Cock trilogy is perfect the way that it is. Here's why. We've got Judas Priest. It's like, I want some cock. We've got Dangerous Toys. I want to give you my cock. And then we've got all the cocks for part 3.
This is certainly one of the eras of all time.
It is. Out of all the trilogies in the history of trilogies, this is one of them. So anyway, so thank you very much for watching, everybody. You're all amazing and beautiful, and we love you, and we'll see you next week. And as usual, I'm going to throw it over to Eddie Sparxx to take us out.
Later, dude!